Today we're going to talk about how to keep your creativity flowing as an artist. That's coming up next. Thanks for joining me today. I'm digital artist Aaron Rutten, and it is my mission to help artists like you be more successful at what you do. That's why today we're talking about how to keep your creativity flowing. Now, I'm sure you've probably heard the term quality versus quantity. What that means is, for example, quality would mean that you're spending a lot of time on one piece of artwork, versus quantity means that in that same amount of time you spent on that one piece of artwork, you create 10 pieces of artwork. And every artist has to find that balance between quality and quantity. You can't be all quality because you're going to spend your whole life on one painting. And in this modern age where you have to be up in everybody's face constantly because people have the attention span of a goldfish, you need to have some quantity. But you don't want to have too much quantity because then you're not really making anything other than little doodles. And while that can be successful for some people, it doesn't work for others. So everyone has their own individual balance. But what's really important in regards to quality versus quantity is staying creative. It's still creative to work on one piece of art for a really long time, but if you don't ever deviate from that and try new things or have other pieces of art, then you might only be focusing your audience down to a handful of people who are really into that one piece of art. But then you're ignoring all the other people out there who might like art that's more colorful or is about people or about animals or landscapes, or, you want to have some variety too to appeal to more people. So in my opinion, it's probably better to err more on the side of quantity versus quality. You want to make quality work often, but you don't want to spend too much time on stuff just because it makes it harder to stand out and for people to be able to see your work and enjoy it. So that means you have to make art regardless of the perceived quality. You're just going to make art and you're going to make it often, and don't focus so much on it being absolutely perfect. You can deal with there being a few flaws here and there. That's what makes art art. And people who are enjoying your art, people who are art enthusiasts, who are looking at your art on their phones or on their computers, they don't necessarily mind those flaws. Those flaws make you human. They make you relatable. There's nothing wrong with those flaws. When people look at stuff that's absolutely perfect, their jaw drops and they're like, wow, but if they only get to see one image every year or every few years, they're going to disconnect with you. If they see you publishing work all the time, maybe it's a mixture of quality and quantity and you have one really nice piece, but then in between you show some of your sketches or some of your doodles, and so people can see, wow, this person's a really great artist. But at the same time, they also make quick art. They make art that's not meant to impress people. And that makes them more relatable to people because that's just how everybody is. Not everybody makes slam dunk perfect art all the time. And I think as an artist, it's important to be able to show your fans that, show them that you're a real person who makes mistakes or who practices or who does stuff that's not necessarily their best work. There's also the other aspect of things that quality is really kind of subjective. So what you might think you spent a lot of time on that's really awesome and really detailed, another person might look at that and not really place much value upon it. And they might go, oh, sure, it's really detailed, but not really my cup of tea. Just as well, you might have a sketch that you spent like 10 minutes on that you really don't like and that you're embarrassed by. And a lot of people look at that and think that it's awesome and they'll wish that they could sketch that well, or they'll think that it's a fine drawing just on its own. So this whole quality thing is really, it's all in your mind, and you really have no control over it once it leaves that domain and goes over to somebody else who makes a judgment upon it. So for me personally, even though I've been criticized for making quantity over quality, that's just how I have to do it, and that's how I stay relevant. Earlier in my art career, before I had really any success at all, I was spending a lot of time on my work. I'd spend many, many, many days in a row on the same piece, and they were these epic pieces that had all kinds of characters and different details in them and things. But nowadays, if I tried to do that, it would be really hard for me to have a sustainable YouTube channel. It would be hard for me to produce content in a consistent fashion that allows me to continue doing what I'm doing, being a full-time artist on YouTube. So I have to find my own personal balance between what I want to make to impress people and what I want to make to keep people engaged with me. Honestly, I make some stuff now and then that's quick that I could do a better job of. Sometimes I make bad art and I just put it up anyways, but I don't care, because if I go back to what I was saying earlier, I want people to see that I'm a real person. If all I put up are videos of me doing my absolute best work all the time and I don't show anything else, that's going to give my viewers a false impression of what it's like to be an artist. And in some ways that could be really, really discouraging, thinking, wow, I'll never be that good. This guy draws everything perfectly every time. That's not the case. I make plenty of bad art. What's important is that you got to make art. You got to stoke the fire, as I call it. If you're not constantly stoking the fire, you're not constantly putting new logs into the fire, you're not constantly poking at it with a stick, then that fire is going to die out, or it's going to die down at the very least, and it's not going to be a powerful fire. But if you keep putting fuel into that fire and you keep moving air across it, that fire is going to grow and grow, and it's going to get hotter and hotter. If you hesitate to make art out of fear of what people will think, then you're risking making very little art at all. So don't intimidate yourself into being inactive, because then you're risking letting your flame die out. So if you want to keep your creativity flowing, make art and make art often, and don't focus so much on it being the absolute best art in the world. Just do your best and try to make sure that you have a good balance of quantity versus quality, and find that balance that works for you. If you found this video helpful or inspiring, go on over to patreon.com/AaronRutten and join me on my mission to create more free resources for digital artists. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.